Do you want to know who's lying to you? Maybe your mom or your dad is telling a white lie, or maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend are telling a bigger lie. You came to the right channel if you want to learn how to spot the liar, pants on fire next to you. So, how to tell if someone is lying to you according to experts. All right, so it's fortunate that liars' pants don't really catch on fire. It'd be great, right? If they did, much of the world's population would be ablaze. And at any given moment, people lie most of the day, says Kevin Colwell, a professor of psychology at Southern Connecticut State University who researches deception. The majority of fibs are a sort of harmless white lies that don't really hurt anyone. Do I look fat in this dress? No, honey. That's what he's talking about. You know, it kind of greases the wheels of society, right? You don't actually like Aunt Mildred's new haircut. She's not going to be any worse off believing otherwise. Lying is a very important social skill, he says. It greases the wheels of society and makes our relationships work better. More harmful lies, however, those that are intentionally misrepresentations of material facts, have the opposite effect. Being lied to or about to deteriorate someone's mental health and lead to a ripple effect of outcomes in their lives. Caldwell notes that including destroying their relationships, that's why many of us play detective, trying to separate fact from fibs. Have you found yourself doing that lately? So how can you tell if someone is lying to you? The key is to enter the conversation without assumptions, says Colwell, who has trained law enforcement officers and investigators with groups like the National Counterterrorism Center in Deception Detection. You have to not go into it assuming they are lying to you, because if you do, it's going to change how they interact with you. You have to be engaging and connect with them in a way that makes the conversation easy for them. You won't always be able to tell for sure, but here's what to look and listen for if you're trying to figure out if someone is in fact lying to you. There will likely be physical signs. To know whether someone is lying, you must have a baseline understanding of what normal for that person. So you got to know them well, all right? Your inner circle, explains Jim Clement, a former New York State prosecutor and retired FBI special agent. The more time you spend with them, the better you'll be able to recognize changes in behavior and communication. Some people, for example, might struggle to make eye contact in every conversation. For others, it will be a tell that something is amiss. Once you know what their norm is, paying attention to physiological changes caused by the fight or flight response. Someone who is lying might start sweating, or their pulse will visibly pound in their neck as their heart rate and blood pressure shoots up. Might notice they're gulping or licking their lips. Some people will begin fidgeting, shifting their attention, moving in the chair away from the person telling them, standing or attempting to leave. I've seen all of that, Clement says. You might see rubbing or wringing or wringing of the hands, pinching parts of their body, clearing the throat, pulling on their hair. All these things can be stress and tension release. They'll repeat the same story over and over. This is another way that you can tell if someone is lying to you. Let's say you ask your partner what they were doing on Wednesday night. After they fill you in, respond, they say, "That sounds neat. I wish I had been there. Tell me more about what happened." People who are telling the truth tend to talk in a normal, free-flowing way. Colwell says they aren't worried about getting caught, so they'll supply new, relevant details they didn't include the first time around. People who are lying, on the other hand, tread carefully. They might talk a lot, but they'll tell you the same thing they just told you, the same as how they already said it, Caldwell says. They're making sure they don't conflict themselves and give information that could lead them getting caught. If you're hearing a whole lot of the same thing, continue asking specific questions, and it will likely soon become obvious that they have been discovered in a lie. Another thing you should do to discover if someone is lying to you, they'll be oddly chronological, and we'll go into what that means together. People who are lying tend to tell stories chronologically, Colwell notes, as opposed to those who are being truthful, will go from most important part to the least important. If you don't have anything to hide, the first thing you're going to remember is the most important pieces of the event, and then the rest of it will come back, he says. If you know you're going to lie, you've practiced and you have a script, and scripts start at the beginning and end in the end. Scripts don't start in the middle. See the difference? Another thing, or another way you can tell if someone is lying to you, they'll speak more eloquently. Surprisingly, people often speak better when they're lying than they do when they are telling the truth. They're engaging in impression management, Colwell says. That might mean using a more complex or sophisticated vocabulary than you would expect, with words you didn't even realize they knew. So if you're marveling at your friend's newfound language mastery, it's a clue that they're lying to you at that very moment. Another thing that you'll need to keep in mind to catch those liars pants on fires, they'll drop or change pronouns. When a woman asks her lying husband about his day, he might reply with, "I went to the park, ate lunch." Notice that he dropped the I in front of the ate lunch, Clement says. That could be because he's covering up that he and another person, we, ate lunch. Similarly, he recalls suspects who say, "Left my home, I was on fire. It was on fire." His response, "You left your house because you discovered it was on fire or because you lit it on fire?" Another way you can tell if those closest to you are lying to you, their sentences may be full of qualifiers. What are qualifiers? I don't know either. Let's keep reading and find out together. Some lies are indirect. People omit crucial facts or feign forgetfulness. In these cases, they'll often answer questions with "you got it" questions. Clement says, consider the famous scene in Seinfeld where Elaine's friend asked her if she was having an affair with George. "Why would you think I was having an affair with George?" A frazzled Elaine responds, spoiler alert, she wasn't, but she was covering up for George, who had gone on a date with Marisa Tomei. Or, when asked if he killed his brother, a murderer might respond with, "Why would I want to hurt Jack?" If you ask a yes or no question, Clement says, pay close attention if you don't get a straight response. People who are lying by omission also tend to be vague or evasive by using phrases like, "I think," "probably," "sort of," "maybe," "I was," and "I started to." Can you think of those closest to you using words like this? They might be lying to you. Clements points out, if somebody says, "I started to drive to work, and then when I got there," they probably edit out what happened in between. Another way that you can start spotting those fibbers closest to you, they'll sound different. Paying attention to non-linguistic verbal cues like tone, volume, pace, and pitch can be revealing. People who are telling the truth usually speak in a consistent way, Clement says. Those who are lying to you are likely to have a broken rate, which variations in pitch and amplitude. If somebody's under stress, their pitch might go up quite a bit, he says. Their pace might slow down because they're trying to think, or it might be really fast because they're so nervous. Another way that you can tell if someone's fibbing to you is their eyes might hold secrets. There's a common assumption that people look away when they're lying, but actually, research suggests that gaze aversion is common when we're thinking, which doesn't necessarily equate to telling a fib. People who have a lie ready to go often look at you straight in the eye because they want to know if you are going to buy it. Wendy Patrick, a longtime prosecutor and author of Red Flags, How to Spot Frenemies, Underminers, and Ruthless People. They are trying to see if you are buying what they're selling. Plus, people who are lying usually don't smile with their eyes, she added. Generally, if someone is telling the truth, you'll see their crow's feet as their eyes relax into their smiles. It's probably a safe bet to trust what they're saying. Another way you can tell, their mannerisms won't match the situation. When people are truthful, their mood and mannerisms should match the message. Patrick says if you detect a visual verbal mismatch, consider it a red flag. That might mean smiling or giggling while discussing a serious subject, like Christopher Watts famously did in 2018 when the police interviewed him about whether he murdered his missing wife. Though Watts initially maintained his innocence, he later confessed to killing his pregnant wife and their 2 daughters. It doesn't always have to be something so sensational, she adds, but it is the dynamic of how our emotions belie our words and indicate that we are lying. And that is how you tell if people are lying to you who are just living right next door. And this is Mario with Let's Talk About It, and I will see you in a later video.